Is it okay? I'm asking her. Everything's okay? So, is this a relevant topic?
Yes, Maharaj.
Elasticity. So this is a how to topic. How to gain the elasticity. Do yoga. I'm here in this area because there's my primary care physician lives in Frederick. I travel, but because he's a devotee, right? He agreed. So I had these different tests done, this and that and the other thing. Good news is nothing much to worry about. There's some concern. And one of his recommendations was, because of your age, you need to do a little stretching. Because by stretching, it helps make the body less breakable. When you get older, that's a concern. It's just something, something when you're younger, a little bump or shock to the body, it responds better. When it's a little older, it doesn't respond the same. So it was a longevity topic, and without having things breaking when you get older. So elasticity by stretching. And how can you do that stretching when you do it voluntarily and it's not too extreme? It's kind of like yoga. You don't try to do yoga and stretch and then pull something, and you suffer for a couple of weeks because you shouldn't have gone that far with that stretching. So it's just a principle. We're speaking in practical terms. And in life, there's several, I'll point to 3 points. Simplicity and austerity are 2 of those points. By keeping, as far as possible, the principles that you live by, being very clear of the principles that you live by, and keep them simple and adhere to them. And when you adhere to them, then it makes you more flexible, because there's certain things you're just not even going to entertain. You stick by simple principles. And to do that, there's something called controlling the mind, so you don't go all over the place. That's a kind of austerity. Austerity, one of the functions of austerity of the body is to be able to control the mind. It's a yoga principle. It's a Patanjali yoga principle. You do things, you accept austerity, because in accepting of austerity and staying with it, you have to have a mind that's reasonably strong. So it strengthens the mind. So simplicity and austerity. And one of the difficulties in dealing with reversal or misfortune is how you perceive it. So there are these 2 words, Shrishti and Drishti. Shrishti is what you can't do anything about. The circumstances of life come your way, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just it. It's hot in the summer. The weather changes in the winter. The hurricane comes through, there's certain things you can't change. So circumstances that life presents before us that are not changeable. And then there's the drishti, it's how you perceive those circumstances. There's a nice verse where this principle is addressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam in different ways, but one of those ways is the 2nd verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada translates it as reality distinguished from illusion. That's the drishti, how you perceive what life circumstances are in a way that it matches reality. Reality distinguished from illusion, or the term that's used in, we'll come to the verse shortly. Vastavam atra vastu. Vastavam atra vastu. So Trishti versus Trishti. The classic example is there's a rope, and you might perceive the Shrishti, the rope, as a snake. And unfortunately, perceiving a rope to be a snake makes one fearful. Although there's nothing to be afraid of in a rope, there may be something to be afraid of in a snake. Depends. So this is perception that doesn't match reality. So what's perception that matches reality? Here's the translation for the verse. 112 Bhagavatam. You know how the verse begins? Dharma projita kaita votra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vasabam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam. Some of you know the verse. Prabhupada's translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. Meaning, if you're not fully pure in heart, the absolute reality, you're not going to be able to perceive it. You'll perceive something else. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries, tapatrayo and mulanam. This beautiful Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavate, Mahamudhikrite, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? Here's the key. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So when that foundation is there, the Supreme Lord, as the heading says across the top, there's inner strength, creates resiliency when the Supreme Lord is established within your heart, when you're grounded in reality. So duality may go like this and make like that. Perception may go like this and may go like that. Misfortune can become good fortune. This is a nice little example. Maybe some of you have heard the Chinese farmer story. And have you heard the Chinese farmer story? It's a nice story. Very simple. And all good stories starts with once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer. And the villagers came to the Chinese farmer and said, "Oh, how fortunate you have a horse. Because you have a horse, you can plow your field much more easily than the rest of us that don't have a horse." And the farmer said, "Good fortune, ill fortune, who can say?" This is the perception. There's the reality. There's the reality, and then there's the perception. So some time passed. The horse ran away. The villagers came to the farmer and said, "Oh, what misfortune. Your horse ran away. And now you have to plow your fields like the rest of us." And the farmer said, he was a Taoist. He said, "Good fortune, ill fortune, who can say?" Some time passed. The horse came back. And not only the horse came back, but there were several other wild horses that came back with the horse. The villagers visited the farmer and saying, "Oh, what good fortune. Now you can plow your fields even more easily than the rest of us because you have all these extra horses." And the farmer said, "Good fortune, ill fortune, who can say?" Some time passed. His son, while trying to train the wild horses to plow the field, fell off the horse and broke his leg. Villagers came to the farmer. Oh, what misfortune! Your son fell off the horse. Trying to train the horses how to plow the field. The farmer said the usual. Good fortune, ill fortune, who can say? After some time, China went to war. And when they went to war, they declared a conscription act that said all men between this age and that age have to join the army to go join the war. And when the military came to town, they didn't take his son because he had a broken leg. So the villagers came to the farmer and said, oh, what good fortune. Your son didn't have to go to the war because he had a broken leg. And the farmer said, good fortune, ill fortune, who can say? That's the end of the story. So it has everything to do with the perception of reality. Each time there's a statement of reality, but he wasn't responsive to the situation or the perception of the situation because he was a Taoist. Now, if you're beyond being a Taoist, Taoism, my understanding of it is, it's a philosophy that says, go with the flow, whatever it is, it is. You know, the saying of the Taoist is, the yogi will walk across the water, and the Taoist will walk through the river to get to the other side, because that's the reality. Just accept the reality that it is what it is. And the position of a spiritual person, or specifically the position of a Vaishnava that adheres Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes situated within, that's the ballast to make the ship not tilt. Even when the ship tilts, it's not misfortune. It's the personality of Godhead engaging me in the situation with this world so that I can understand this world is not a nice place. Not a fit place for a gentleman, as Bhakti Siddhanta said. Now here's a photograph of a gentleman that I like very much. Hare Krishna guy. He's a German psychologist who was, during World War II, he was in a Nazi concentration camp because he was Jewish. So Viktor Frankl survived the concentration camp experience. And at the end, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Like, why me? Why is this difficulty coming? And in the book, it's been reprinted probably more times since I last looked, 19 times, which means it's very popular, reprinted. It's very skinny, that's one reason, and it's very pithy. It has lots of powerful statements. And the circumstance was, according to the author himself, he survived that experience because he had a mission that was awaiting him. The mission was, on the other side of this experience, I want to be able to help people who are passing through circumstances there's nothing they can do about, but how to handle and how to be resilient in dealing with the circumstances that's a great misfortune and endure it successfully. So he wrote some things along this line. Here's two of them. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way, to choose one's own way. So that's a choice. So the circumstances maybe can't be changed within any given set of circumstances. You have an attitude how you respond to those circumstances. That's a choice. It's a free will choice that can't be taken from you. It's a freedom. You choose to respond. Here's another way. There is also purpose in life, which is almost barren of both creation and enjoyment, and which admits but one possibility of high moral behavior, namely in man's attitude to existence, an existence restricted by external forces. Another thing he writes is, when there's a mission awaiting for you to be fulfilled, you can invest your free will in fulfilling that mission. Supposing you don't have a mission in life, supposing it's vague, doesn't have the same inner strength that one does that has a very clear sense of vision. Now, this is not exactly divinity. He's a Jewish man. He had his faith, his religious faith, but he was a psychologist by profession, and regardless of someone's particular faith, he had and has helped people. Afterwards, he was a very popular man because he did help people that were undergoing hardships that the